It has been the summer of Daryl Morey as seemingly everything has gone according to plan for the Sixers team. However, he may have one more trick up his sleeve and have stacked the cards to give the Sixers the advantage for the bright future they have ahead. I want to break down the unfortunate news regarding the future of Kawhi Leonard and why his basketball future is in as much doubt as it ever has been to this point, but why this could potentially be good news for this Sixers team due to the draft pick implications that they have on the Clippers. So I want to break down exactly what went down and start off with we did get this update from Shams Charania here, who said that the Los Angeles Clippers star Kawhi Leonard is expected to be sidelined for an indefinite period of time to start the NBA season as he rehabilitates the inflammation in his right knee, league sources tell me and the notorious Bear. So we know that Kawhi has been dealing with something for a while. Very unfortunate that we've seen Kawhi be one of the most premier talents across the entire sport of basketball, but he really has been bothered through these knee injuries for the past several years now. Really the only healthy run, the only full season run that we've seen from Kawhi since his San Antonio days was that Toronto Raptors championship run there, and it is unfortunate he had to run through the Sixers in the process there. But the NBA is in a better place when Kawhi Leonard is on the floor, so certainly I'm not wishing ill upon the man, but I do think we have to have a brutal, just kind of blunt conversation about how this impacts the Sixers here. So I want to dive into why that is exactly the case and start off with the James Harden trade here. That back during the initial Harden trade at the Los Angeles, that the Philadelphia 76ers on Monday agreed to trade Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip with an F Petrusev to the LA Clippers in exchange for Nico Batum, Robert Covington, Kenyon Martin Jr., Marcus Morris, a 2028 unprotected first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a pick swap, according to ESPN. So while Nico Batum was obviously a plus player while he was here, there were some good flashes with Marcus Morris, who ultimately was turned into Buddy Hield, and a little draft capital in the way that was exchanged, and KJ Martin still sticking around on this team and likely a future trade candidate himself, as he did opt into that contract, which essentially is a human trade chip heading into things. While there's positive from each of these guys, really it was the draft picks that was the prize of this overall deal. That 2028 unprotected first-round pick could be worth as good as gold when we get to that point regarding this Clippers team. And those 2 second-round picks and that pick swap, which comes in 2029, could be a big deal here. That, of course, if the Clippers have a higher draft pick than the Sixers, having the right to leapfrog them in the draft and get the better pick is a huge asset there. Big fan of pick swaps myself. I love the absolute premise of it, and I do think that that is something that the Sixers have taken advantage of more so than most teams there. Now, as far as the Kawhi Leonard storyline, do want to get everything straight and address it here. So we kind of knew that there was something strange up since the time of the Olympics. So I want to run through a bit of the timeline here and then kind of project forward for this team. So some notable events with Kawhi and the knee inflammation. So on April 2nd, the Clippers rule Kawhi out with knee soreness. Then on April 4th, Kawhi says that he'll miss a couple games. April 14th, Kawhi misses the regular season finale, the eighth straight game. Then on April 20th, the Clippers list Kawhi as questionable for Game 1 with knee inflammation of the playoffs there. He was ruled out for Game 1, but then played in Games 2 and 3. Lawrence Frank then says that Kawhi needs more time. The Clippers were eliminated, and Kawhi missed the final 3 playoffs game. He was removed from Team USA on July 10th, which is strange, but of course, there is a full 2 months since the end of their playoff season, and then Team USA starting up. So the fact that he did show up to camp and there were still some knee issues is a concern here. Now, on July 15th, Lawrence Frank says it was Team USA's decision, and the Clippers wanted Kawhi to play. On July 15th, Frank refused to reveal whether or not Kawhi had a procedure done. Then on September 24th, as things begin to return to this NBA season, Frank says that the Clippers will hold Kawhi out to begin training camp, unsure about this opening night availability. September 24th, Shams tweets that Kawhi underwent an offseason procedure. Then on October 14th, Kawhi is ruled out for the entire preseason, and then most recently, he is out indefinitely for the start of the year. So obviously far from ideal there. That you never want to see this with any of the league's top players, and particularly with a guy with such a bad history like Kawhi with the knee issues there. Now, from the Sixers' perspective here, obviously, this has impacted them quite a bit. That for starters, I kind of think that this was always in the back of the Clippers' mind, and I think, to be perfectly honest, my conspiracy brain is that's the whole reason that Paul George is in Philadelphia here, that if the Clippers were just willing to give one more year on the max contract, or one more year on the contract they were negotiating with Paul George, because they were trying to walk around the max a little bit, do something like an opt-in, which is a front-loading the money, and then kind of a little bit later on the back years. There were kind of the business talks and negotiations for that side of things, but the line in the sand that was drawn was they would not give one additional additional year. Now, my thought process and my kind of conspiracy theory is they knew that Kawhi's knees were cooked. And they know they had to build excitement about the new stadium and that there would be these bright days ahead. And the Intuit Dome does look sick, by the way. But I think if they had thought Kawhi would have been healthy or potentially available for a real season run this year, they would have just given Paul George the money. Like, that's what I think Steve Ballmer is like as a guy. And there was a little back in my mind, like, why is Paul George walking free right now? Is it just that he got offended by the organization? So I think that's a part of this conversation as well. Now, the unfortunate reality is the show waits for no man here. The NBA continues on, and the Clippers got to find a way to field a team year in and year out. So looking at the current Clippers roster here, do want to pull this up exactly. This is kind of the multi-year view that we know they're going to be okay this year. That for all the talk about James Harden, what he is excellent at is building up the floor of the team. That I still have my doubts if Harden can ever be a high-level contributor on a championship team. What he's very good at is taking a team and making sure they're in that playoff mix. He's going to do that this year. He's going to put up some ridiculous numbers. And at the end of the day, he might get that contract that he's still been fighting so hard to ultimately get there. That he still hasn't got that long-term deal that he's been seeking since when he first came to Philadelphia here. But when looking at some of the names on this roster, I really don't have that much optimism for the long run of this team. And as you can see with this breakdown, the final year we have available is that 28-29 year, which is when the draft picks start to come into play here. James Harden will be, of course, you can see he's on his final year, does have the player option the next year, one of the 1+1 deals that we saw here in Philly as well. But when looking for young talent on this team, it's a little difficult to find. Terrence Mann, as much as everyone loves him, can't see him as a building block. Bones Highland, I love, but really has struggled in just about a lot of situations. Amir Coffey, can he take that next step? Kobe Brown, is he capable of being a building block guy? I kind of doubt that for each of these guys. Kevin Porter Jr. has plenty of issues with himself as well. This is a veteran squad that eventually is going to have to hit that reset button, and they really can't afford to do it at any point when you factor in that these Sixers do have these draft picks here. It is not just the Sixers, that they have traded plenty. Now, I know the Clippers are in Los Angeles, that they are a team that is going to be willing to spend. They will be active in the free agent market. I'm not saying that this team is going to fall ultimately in giving the Sixers the first overall pick in the draft. But what my pitch is here is don't wait around and find out. That if anything, if there should be any lesson taken from this Clippers team, is that the window in the NBA is very narrow. So looking at this Sixers roster, if you don't think this is championship caliber as is, then cash in those Clippers picks right now and get the players that make it a championship caliber team. The rumored unhappiness with Aaron Gordon coming down in Denver, take a 2028 and 2029 first round pick and a pick swap, and then talk about maybe you feel a little happier here in Philadelphia winning another ring here. Moves like that is what Daryl Morey should be active. That yes, obviously you got to keep your cards close to the vest, keep as many options open, which Morey has been incredibly clear about. But the reality is the true lesson that should be taken from this Clippers team is the championship window is so small in the NBA. If you have one season where Joel Embiid looks like those knees are holding up for the length of it, do whatever it takes, get whatever championship caliber player could be the difference here. So I hope that is the case there. Ultimately sending some good vibes for Kawhi Leonard, but I do think that these picks are only going to look more and more valuable as things go on. That does not mean that I want things to keep it, but that is a good back of the day type of kind of response. That at the end of the day, that you know that you still have those. They're only aging going to get better unless something significant changes for this Clippers team, but that is an awesome trade chip for the Sixers to be holding. So we'll see how things play out until that point, but I do think Daryl Morey did do it again, and I do think that these are some incredibly high just currency to be able to use in the NBA trade market when that time does come. So we will see who those names will be. I will be diving deeper into it right here on Sixers Digest. Shout out to Kawhi Leonard, and do hope you get better, but I do think these Sixers, this is another little feather in Daryl Morey's cap for seeing the future a bit and holding on to those draft picks there. So shout out to Daryl, and shout out to you guys for tuning in this video here. So appreciate each and every one of you guys that do watch these videos. It does mean a lot to me. If you haven't already, I would appreciate if you guys did subscribe to the channel, drop a like and any comments you have below. I'll be talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.